Welcome to the Awesomers.com podcast. If you love to learn, and if you're motivated to expand your mind, and heck, if you desire to break through those traditional paradigms and find your own version of success, you are in the right place. Awesomers around the world are on a journey to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. We believe in paying it forward, and we fundamentally try to live up to the great Zig Ziglar quote, where he said, "You can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." It doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're going. My name is Steve Simonson, and I hope you will join me on this awesomer journey.
If you're launching a new product manufactured in China, you will need professional, high-resolution, Amazon-ready photographs. Because Simo Global has a team of professionals in China, you will oftentimes receive your listings photographs before your product even leaves the country. This streamlined process will save you the time, money, and energy needed to concentrate on marketing and other creative content strategies before your item is in stock and ready for sale. Visit simoglobal.com to learn more, because a picture should be worth 1,000 keywords.
You're listening to the Awesomers.com podcast, episode number 31. And as always, you can find the show notes at awesomers.com/31. That's awesomers.com/31. Today, my special guest is Will Moffett. Will is an entrepreneur, partner, and builder of all kinds of different businesses. He's built many private label products within the physical products industry. And to do that, he structured large teams from around the world, including China, to bring in that import and supply chain process all the way from China, private labeling, making your own brand, all the way into the United States. And he's done that for a number of years now very successfully. He took a little pause because Will and his partner started an inventory crowdfunding platform that's helped raise millions of dollars for e-commerce sellers nationwide. And that's called Upfund.io. And we're going to talk in detail about how that concept works, why it's really interesting for especially entrepreneurs who are trying to scale quickly but finding cash flow is a challenge. And as always, we're going to have fun. Okay, Awesomers, we're back again. Steve Simonson today, joined by Will Moffett. Will, how are you, buddy?
Hey, wonderful, Steve. How's it going, man? I'm so glad you invited me.
Oh, man, I'm thrilled to be here. Will has his own podcast, FBA Millionaires. What's it called, Will?
Yes, FBA Millionaires.
That was a 1 in a million shot there, let me just tell you. But I've had the pleasure to be on Will's show before, and I recommend everybody go check it out and subscribe. But Will also has a very interesting business that we're going to talk a little bit about today. Plus, we're going to talk about his origin story, which is one of my favorite things to do. But Will, maybe you could take us and just give us the general summary of kind of what you're doing today, what takes the most of your time, and those types of particulars.
Yes. So this day and age, I partnered with some friends. We have Upfund.io, which is a inventory crowdfunding platform for Amazon sellers. We've been doing that since, it's been over 2 years. I think late 2015, was it? Yeah, going on maybe 3 years, 2015 to 2016. So that's been keeping me pretty busy. I did kind of take some time off of Amazon. That's how I originally started. But recently I've been getting back into it. I found that even though I still understood Amazon and I started getting into tech, a big part of me loves Amazon. I missed it, and I miss the money too. It's good. Good income. So it's like, why did I just stop? So I just picked it back up, learning more. And it's important also with Upfund to know what's going on out there and to understand what's the pain and so we can better solve problems through tech. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
I love it. Well, it always is so much easier when you're kind of stuck in the soup with the rest of the frog, so to speak, right? As the temperature goes up, it's like, hey, we better figure out how to jump before the temperature gets too hot.
Exactly.
And, having a live laboratory of your own selling methodology, your own product, whatever the case may be, whether it's e-commerce or Amazon, doesn't matter to me, but it helps keep you limber, keep you loose.
Exactly.
By the same token, there's only a certain amount of hours in the day. So, what's a guy to do? There's only so much we can get done. So, in a minute, we're going to dig into your origin story. But one of the questions I had is, what gave you the idea to start your Upfund crowdsourcing kind of inventory financing? It's a very unique splice of kind of the crowdfunding and the need of cash flow and inventory. Where did the idea genesis come from?
Yes, so when we first originally started with Amazon, we grew really, really fast. And it was extremely fast. And this was back in 2015. So what we did is we had an issue finding money for this growth. And we had money, we had credit, we had everything we needed to go to a bank and say we thought to get money, right? Well, the bank took months to get back to us. And when they finally approved us, they said they wanted collateral, you know? And it's like, we have money. You see our inbound, our payments coming in bi-weekly. You see we have money, you see we have property. What is the big problem, with just giving us a small loan? So what we said was, after that, we didn't take the money, and we just said, okay, let's build our own platform. Have some pretty savvy and smart partners that are in the tech industry. Me personally started with Amazon. Sorry for the background. I'm in a city here, and
Yeah, no
there's
problem.
police and fire and trucks and everything. But yes, so we decided to go ahead and build something that we felt that if we needed it, other people would need it also. And it was a challenging project, and we generally like to take on challenging products because, hey, what else is there to do?
Yeah,
Just
keeps you loose, right? Yeah, no
exactly
problem doing the
right.
easy stuff, but
Keeps us
we've got
sharp. So we wanted to do something big, and so we went out to start Upfund. And within 2 months, our CTO was able to put a MVP together, and we did our first demo, which
I
went
love it.
horribly wrong.
Perfect. That's how all demos go.
Yeah,
I will direct you to Steve Jobs. There are many times he walked down on stage and stuff would just simply not work, right? And
yes,
one of the first lessons I learned in tech, not probably, definitely back in the early 80s when I was studying computer programming as a kid, my teacher told me it will never work the first time. And boy, I've tried to prove him wrong ever since, and I've never been able to prove him wrong.
yes,
It
yes.
never works the first time. We're going to dive more into that story and talk about kind of where they are today. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Amazon Marketplace professionals, congratulations on your success to date. Your creativity, strategic vision, problem solving, and discipline have allowed you to build your own e-commerce business. Wouldn't it be great if you had more time to focus on the things that truly drive the sales and growth of your company? Instead of getting lost in a dozen different services and countless spreadsheets, what if there was one system that connected to your Amazon account and automatically gave you the information that you needed to make great decisions and really impact your business? Parsimony ERP can do that. Parsimony is the business operating system for your marketplace business. With Parsimony, you get true double-entry bookkeeping, easy financial statements, full customer service tools, and item-by-item profitability, along with project and task management, and more features are being added all the time. Learn more at parsimony.com. That's Parsimony, Parsimony.com. Parsimony.com. We've got that.
Okay, we're back again. Steve Simonson here on the Awesomers.com podcast, and we're talking to Will Moffett with Upfund.io, which is a unique crowd-sourced inventory solution. And I find it very interesting. We're going to talk and dig into that. But I always like to start kind of where you came from, your origin story, Will. And so let's start at the very beginning. Where were you born?
So I was born in Oakland, California,
Okay,
in the
all
Bay
right.
Area.
So are there any natural tendencies towards local sports teams, or are you open on the sports front?
Well, I used to be really into sports, 49ers, until I started business. Then I didn't have any time to watch sports anymore. But
Isn't that funny? That's me too. I used to be a big Dallas Cowboys
Mhm.
fan as a grown up, as a kid, and even a young adult. But I haven't watched a game of any kind in long time because I just don't have the time.
Yeah, we're trying to buy a football team, right?
That's right. Yeah. And honestly, it can be more fun keeping score on our own game than watching somebody else try to make points. Uh,
Exactly.
how about your parents? What did your parents do? Were they entrepreneurs or some other trade?
So grew up in a single family household. My mother, job to job, it was pretty tough for my mom back then. As I'm an adult now and I have my own family and children, I understood how much she did for me and how much she had to go through to keep me on the right path. So yeah, she worked in the medical field, and my dad, he was on the other side of the railroad track. So
Sure.
he was doing other things. But he is now a very great man. He is on the right side of the railroad tracks.
That's
And
good.
so my mom right now, these days, they're doing wonderful. My mom and dad, they're such a blessing to me. Great people. But yeah, they were able to put some good values into me. I didn't have everything I wanted, as a child. Didn't have much money, but it's what made me the hungry, humble, and driven person that I am today.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a good lesson for all entrepreneurs out there. It doesn't matter, kind of what you come up with. And there's a whole difference between wants and needs, right? Clearly you didn't starve to death. So,
Yeah,
you got by. And
exactly.
on the other side of it, the values and the accomplishments that you've made, I think it's reasonable to give a shout out to that upbringing and how it got you here. So I think that's very good. Any siblings, any brothers or sisters for you?
So I have one sister. She's 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have
That's
a 10-year-old sister. So my mother and father, they're not married, but he did marry a younger woman. So I have a sister. She's awesome. She's an awesomer.
I like
and,
that. Yeah, 10 easily could be an awesome.
yeah. So yeah, um, and so just yeah, me and my sister, and yeah, I have 2 kids and a beautiful wife. And they are what drives me every day. Just to see their faces and be able to see them when I get home from work is just it's very inspiring.
Yeah, for sure. We always talk about the kind of finding your why, and of course, there's the business why, but there's the personal why, which I feel, a great amount of effort should go into. Whereas, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs get sidetracked with this idea that, well, my why is less important. I just need to buckle down. I need to carry the heavy load. But really, when you get your why, and it's much more attuned to kind of relationships and family and finding things that make you happy. And although financial wealth can be instructive and instrumental to help some of those things, it's not the end goal, at least in my opinion. So I like where you're coming from there. How about university? Did you spend any time at university?
Yeah, so I went to a HBCU, Tuskegee University in Alabama.
Okay.
So that was great. I was actually supposed to go to the military, and I ended up getting accepted at the last minute. And it's funny because where I was raised, I didn't even consider college. It was just funny. I ended up running into a teacher that said, "Oh, you should apply to some colleges down south." And I was like, "What? I never heard of it." And the HBCU is a historically black college, so it was founded by Booker T. Washington. And so
Very historical reference
yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's hard to get more historical than that. Yeah.
1881 was when the school was built, and I applied to some schools down south, and I just I got some letters back, and I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm not going to the military anymore. I'm going to college." And she was like, "Oh, cool." Because I was like the only person in my family to go to college, so nobody really knew talk to me about college. So it was just something that I was able to explore, and that's what's so cool. That wherever we are in life and at whatever stage, as long as we are able to listen to other people talk. If I heard somebody talk about college, I say, nobody ever talked to me about college, but I heard about it, right? It caused me to act and apply, even though I haven't talked to anybody about it, right? And it's the same thing as what we do in business, right? I learned about Amazon because I was talking to somebody and they said something. I said, "What is this Amazon thing?" And then that's what made me act. It's these things in life that makes us, if we act on what we hear and we are exposed to, we can do, great things that we didn't know we could do.
I think that's really well said. And, one of the foundational differences kind of between my version of my nomenclature of an awesomer and a normie, and I got no problem with normies. I love normies, and many of friends and family are normies, but they will listen and they may continue to want, they just don't act. And that's kind of one of the defining differences. If you don't act, you are the sum of your actions at the end of the day.
Yes.
And for all the people who say, "Gosh, I wish I had more of this," or "I need more of that," or freedom, time, money, whatever it is, that it's really in the context of their actions, they probably are where they are because they acted or they failed to act.
Yep.
And it's I don't know, maybe a rude awakening for some people, but that's just the way it is. And it doesn't matter where you are, or where you came from.
And the
Will,
cool thing is, though, that today, you guys, you can turn that around today by just acting. And not just acting randomly, but acting with direction, right? With a mentor or somebody with books or, some type of wise counseling. Sometimes it's going to take a lot of figuring out, but if you can get some assistance through knowledge or wisdom from some type of source, it makes the journey a little shorter.
Boy, I think that's really sage wisdom. I hope everybody's taking clear notes, because one of the things, is I have some friends and I love them. They're great. We have a great time, but they'll send me internet memes all day long. Right. And, oh, hey, that's hilarious. That's really funny. I rarely even have time to get through them all, but it's like, gosh, I wonder how much time you spent on, learning a new skill or trying to develop some particular direction, in your life, versus sending me these funny memes all day. And believe me, these cats are funny. I got no love lost for the cats there. It's amazing. But it's not a super revenue producer, and it's not even a freedom producer at the end of the day. So I think very wise wisdom from you. Now, so how did you like your university experience, and what did you study? What was your specialty?
I loved it. I first went for aerospace engineering and found out that math wasn't my strong point. So, except for money, but so I decided to go into business. And when I went into business, I was able to do some cool things. I was able to purchase my first home while I was in college.
Wow.
And I was able to, I sold things. I started a photography business. Actually, I didn't do the photography, but I had a photographer and I handled the money.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And sold snacks. Yeah, exactly. Sold snacks in classes, like a lot of other people that they've done. But it was always hard for me to sit in a classroom and learn about something without physically doing it. So if I took a real estate class, I figured out how to buy a real estate. I picked up the phone and called somebody that I felt knew real estate, or they may have been a millionaire in real estate, and I say, hey, I'm in college, can you help me buy a property? Within 2 weeks I bought a property. And so that's really what it is, guys. It's, you want something, you just go and get it, and there's going to be bumps, there's going to be a lot of no's, but it's a numbers game. You call 200 people, you might get 3 people, and out of those 3 people, 1 person falls through. That's what you're looking at. It's no easy way out.
Yeah, I love that. Our natural wiring as humans, I suppose, is to look for the easy button, to look for that silver bullet, but they really don't exist. And you'll even the things that I feel the luckiest and the most fortunate to have experienced are usually the culmination of a bunch of other things that have happened over time. In particular, relationships and things that we've kind of put equity into over time. Relationship equity often pays. So I love that. How about, what did you ever have a proper first job, or some job out of college that you look back on and go, oh, that was a good time,
Yeah. At 15, my first job was at a water park called Water World here in California. And I was handling the garbage. I was the trash man. And I just walked around all day and did trash. But, I took pride in it. And I went every day, and I was the best trash man I could be.
I love it. Besides the potential for Kevin Costner and the Waterworld guys to come after the water park, I love that job because it reminds me of one of my favorite stories that I used to describe awesomers. Even though awesomers in my world are often entrepreneurs, just because that's the world I hang out in, awesomers come in every walk of life. And it was John F. Kennedy. He was touring the Kennedy Space Center. It wasn't called Kennedy Space Center at the time, by the way, but he's down in the area. They're launching the all the rockets up and getting ready to go to the moon and so forth. And he just sees this janitor, and he's just hustling, man. This guy's hustling. He's mopping the floor, and he's just going. He comes up to him. He says, hey, gosh, I see you're working your tail off here. And, what's your job? Or, what's your key function here? And he's like, hey, man, I'm putting a man on the moon, right? He saw the vision. And that guy's an awesomer in every possible way.
Yes.
Because he saw the big picture vision. So it really is, whatever you're going to do the best that you can do at it, and you'll always come out ahead. So I love that first story. Not my first job, but my most recent proper job was I was a janitor while I was in college.
Yeah.
And I also took out the trash, but I had other duties as well. So your specialization, I respect.
What's cool about that, what I learned is that, I didn't like it and I didn't want to do it. But there was something that I learned about myself is I had this thing with endurance, right? I can handle anything. It's summertime, it's hot, I'm dealing with trash, it's beautiful women out. I'm a teenager. Nobody wants to be, but it was the whole thing of learning, right? I learned that I never want to do that again. And
Yeah.
I learned that I would do anything to never go back. But it's those things where, we find out what we don't want by exploring a lot of different things, right? And when we keep eliminating what we don't want, we start moving into things that we do want, which creates, our ideal situation.
Yeah, that is very well said. So anybody who's ever joined the Osmers.com little mailing list where we just send out free stuff from time to time, the why process goes through this idea of identifying what you don't want in your life, right? That's the first step to figuring out what you do want.
Mhm.
You say, hey, I don't want this in my life. And then you figure out your barriers or obstacles to eliminating those things from your life. And then you overcome those. So it's it's a smart thing. And actually my first business after I dropped out of college because I was too poor, was to partner up with a guy in a janitorial company. And so I kind of knew what I was doing from a technician standpoint. And
Yeah.
then I just went a little deeper and decided to buy half the company. So
Oh, there we go. That's how
yeah,
you do it.
yeah, it was fun. But I still was happy to exit that company, decades ago. So let me say, the other question I had is, was there a defining moment, kind of along your path from that point, either being the trash guy or being in college to now, where you said, when this switch happened, things kind of started going my way. Anything you can think about?
So the switch happened was when I had my first child. I was an entrepreneur, and when I was dating my wife, she always knew I was an entrepreneur. And it's one of those things where it's like, hey babe, support my dream, or like, I'm always on some new random thing. I'm trying to do something, and my parents was like, why don't you just get a job? My grandmother, she worked all her life. You need a real job. Everybody's telling me, and I'm like, I just can't. Like, I try and I quit because I got some new business idea. Like, one day I had an idea to have a funnel cake shop, and I worked at Sherman, I think it's Sherman Williams Paint.
Sure.
And like, I had the idea and quit the same day. Like, but I opened the shop.
Good. Yeah. Nice.
But I opened the shop like a month later, and that's how aggressive I am.
I love it.
So it's just this hill, like right up and down, peaks, low lows, high valleys, and like this, right? There was never, any consistent up, right? Until finally, my wife was pregnant, and she said, you gotta, what are you gonna do? You can't keep doing this, right? Because now I'm involved, and you're sending us up and down like a yo-yo. And I said, okay, I'll quit. I said, I'll quit. I'll go get a job. I'll be normal 9 to 5, and we'll just ride off into the sunset, I guess, right? But something was weird about it, right? I still was uncomfortable because I knew it's not me, but I was willing to make that sacrifice for my wife. And I didn't want my kids to have to go through those things, right? And so I ended up talking to a friend, and my friend was like, oh, my brother is making $50,000 a month on Amazon. And I said, really? What is he doing? And, he was just like, he's just doing like retail arbitrage. He's going to Costco and these closeout stores and buying stuff on Amazon. I was like, huh. And I'm thinking in my background, my wife, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I said, okay, this is my last chance. And so I didn't tell my wife. I took out like a loan. I took out like a small $3,000 loan. Think from Lending Club,
Hmm.
and I did a private label product, which now I probably, like, dude, I was making some big chances. Like, I was really like, it ended up becoming a success. My first product, like literally within a month and a half, I was like at 40K net.
Wow.
And net because my product price was only $3, and I was selling it for $34.
I love it.
my profit margins were crazy. You know, this doesn't normally happen, Steve.
That's
Like your
right.
first product, you know, you usually got to fail a lot. It's a numbers game, right? You got to run through a lot of products, test them all to finally get a product. And when you got to get it, it's a lot of optimization, dealing with competition and all these different things just to get it profitable. And it just happened. And that's how I knew it was nothing but God, because if it didn't work, my wife would have killed me.
Well, it doesn't hurt to have a little divine intervention right at the right moment.
Exactly,
Honestly.
right?
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I didn't like it started to succeed. And then that's when I got my partner. I told my partner, because I messaged him, like when I first had my baby, I was like, is there any way I took out this loan? I got $3,000. How can I flip this? How can I flip this in a month or two or whatever? And it was like, that's what everybody's looking for. And then that's when I found the Amazon. And I told him about it, and he was like, wow, and then he jumped in, and then that's when the company started growing. But that was it. Right when I was about to fail, my last opportunity, I gave myself a chance.
I love that
Yeah.
defining moment. And I love the fact that so much of that story is interwoven with relationships, right?
Yeah.
The relationship between your wife and yourself, the relationship between you and your new baby,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship between you and your partner, the one and whomever else mentioned that their friend was selling on Amazon. All of those were
Relational. Yeah.
But again, I think one of the defining characteristics of an entrepreneur is the idea that, persistence pays, that, there's hope around the corner, and that you're willing to put the puzzle together.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big deal to me, that too many, especially younger entrepreneurs, and I'm not speaking of age, I'm speaking of experience.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just starting out in business, when you're just starting on your own, you kind of wish somebody else would just show up and tell you how to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not actually what teaches you, right? And to quote the old, I think it's somewhere, some biblical kind of reference, but you feed a man, or what do you give him? A fish he eats for a day, you feed a fish he eats for a lifetime, right?
Exactly.
And that's the point of what awesomers and entrepreneurs are able to flip the script on. No, I don't want to eat for a day. I want to eat for a lifetime. I want this to be sustainable, and I want to develop a lifestyle of freedom, or whatever your objectives are. So I love that. What a great defining moment.
And it's so important, Steve. Like, I mean, this whole our success depends on experiences, right? It's not, nobody can tell you anything to make you successful. You can give me all the private label products ideas I want. You can say, Will, here's a successful private label product. I want you to have it. It's successful for me. And I may not be able to make that private label product successful. It's all about, it's a deeper experience. And it's just that you guys gotta, everybody has to just keep trying different things. Try harder, try a different way, try to go around, try to ask somebody. Like when I first was going through that situation with my wife and trying to figure out what I was going to do, I was reading my Bible, and like Spirit said, seek and you shall find. And I was like, seek and you shall find. Like, I need an answer. Like, I don't got time for this stuff. Like, seek and you shall find. So I'm like, so I was on a mission to seek. That's how I talked to my friend. I was asking people things like this. Oh, what's going on here? And calling people up. I'm looking on the internet. I'm seeking. And things were coming to me. And I was actually going to create interesting enough, I was going to create a finance company, a finance brokerage company, where I was just going to pretty much resell like finance from a commercial lender, right? Just resell it for a commission. And that's what I was like physically building. And then when the Amazon thing came up, so seeking we shall find, it's the experiences, and even if you did come upon money, if you don't have experience with handling money, you will lose it. And I know my friend always told me, like when I came into Amazon, it was just a lot of money. He told me, when I first started, he's like, if you're a billionaire, live like a millionaire. If you're a millionaire, live like a thousandaire. Well, if you're a thousandaire, you probably should be living, well under your means.
Maybe a dozenaire.
Yeah, a dozenaire.
Right to the bottom, down to a dozenaire. Yeah.
Exactly. So but it's the experiences, right? Because I still didn't get it, even though somebody told me that. Right? So, you're getting this money dumped into your account. What do you go do? What does a broke person do? They go buy a nice car, right? They go get the biggest this and the biggest that, right? Well, you're not so much of a thousand-arrow millionaire anymore. You got bills, right? And then, these bumps in the roads come. Amazon's algorithm slaps you upside the head. So, it's just experiences. And the only thing I can say, guys, is just, um, yeah, experience as much as you can. Force yourself to experience. Always be open, never close the door. Um, yeah, and enjoy the journey. It's a hard journey, but enjoy it. It's because you can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think
Literally.
that it is a quite a literal fact that you can do whatever you want, and that if you don't enjoy the journey, then you're going to have, I got a spoiler alert coming. We're our destination, 6 feet under, and regardless of afterlife or not, on
Yep.
this earth, there's coming to an end. Why not enjoy the journey? And you can engineer the journey to make it enjoyable along the way as well.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, clearly lessons are baked in there, a lot of good stuff. Do you have a best day, maybe a professional life best day that you're like, man, when this happened or I achieved this particular milestone, I did a little victory lap?
Um, I would have to say, okay, besides with, Amazon, that was a huge victory. I guess maybe when my wife quit her job and, uh, she was able to quit her job
And this
and
was a
she,
result of you being able to generate enough income
exactly,
to care for the whole family, right?
exactly. And she didn't have to work anymore and she was able to stay home with the kids.
Nice.
And that was huge for her and it was huge for me. A lot of pressure, no pressure, guys, but yeah, that's a lot of pressure. But what it taught me is that her values is to train our kids. She wants to be there for them, she wants to train them and mold them herself, right, into great, from great little people to great adults.
Yeah.
And my job is to facilitate that however I can. So if I'm lacking, um, it's a challenge to me, as a husband, as a father, to make sure I make their dreams come true.
Yeah.
So that is what drives me to keep creating new experiences, to keep seeking and finding, to make it to a new level. Keep growing to new levels.
Yeah, I definitely like that. So, how about over time, because you've gone from that genesis of the idea on Amazon into kind of a probably a topsy turvy world of Amazon, and then you've gone into the fintech space or fintech, I
Hmm.
suppose they call it, financial technology.
Yep.
Was there ever a time between kind of then when you kind of are like, wow, this is a real thing, to now where you're like, oh, this is too much for me. I want to give up. I want to walk away. I'm going to go whatever, maybe go back to the trash man job, whatever it is. Is there a time you said, this is too much for me, I want to walk away?
It's always too much. And that's the thing. It never, when you're in business, I've never experienced, well, okay, I've experienced times when things got easy, but around the corner there's something hard coming, right? And our job as entrepreneurs, we get paid to solve problems. That's what we do. Our job isn't an easy road. If it's too easy, then you're probably not doing something right, because or you're not growing, something's wrong, or something's about to die, right? Maybe a business. So, our ability to earn is all about our ability to solve problems. So I have a problem every day. As soon as I wake up, if it's a phone call or an email or something I have to fix, right? I'm a problem solver. I've accepted it, and there's nothing that can happen to make me feel sad. There's nothing that can happen. I've been to the worst places in business, okay? So there's nothing that can happen to make me say, oh man, like I'm a failure or this or that. No, like, it happens. All I know is that, look, sometimes business work, sometimes it doesn't. There's gonna be a hard time coming around the corner. I need a solution for every phase. If it doesn't work, I need a golden parachute. Like, this is real. It's everything is strategy. It's like, if you think about the show, you guys, if you guys think of like Game of Thrones or something, right? This is real. That's what business is. It's literally chess pieces. And you always know somebody's trying to take your money, somebody's trying to dominate your company, somebody's trying to move in, is somebody trying to do something. Even if it's on Amazon, somebody's trying to take over your product, somebody's trying to do something weird, and all it is chess pieces. So the sooner you realize that you know there's opposition every day that's after you, the clearer you can understand how sharp you have to be. And if you can just remember that, I have to be sharp. I have to be on this. I have to be on this every day, right? There's nobody else that can do it but you. You know, you think you can outsource it, you can outsource it, but you better be watching that person that you're outsourcing to, right? Because they're doing something wrong. You know, they could be doing something right, but who knows? It's your business. If something goes wrong, it falls back on you. It's your family that's gonna feel that pain. So yeah, every day I feel that, but you know, it's something that I'm conditioned for, right? I'm
Yeah.
conditioned to solve problems. So to me, it's fun now, right? Because every day I know that I have something new to do, a new challenge, a new problem to solve, and because I'm able to solve problems, it's a new opportunity to make more money.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's very well said. Again, the fact that, you know, the entrepreneur's job, to kind of rephrase what you said, is essentially just to solve problems all day. I mean,
Hmm.
honestly, if there weren't problems, then we don't add much value, right? If somebody could just, you know, oh, hey, send $3,000 to this guy in China, and they send a product, and then Amazon sends you a check for 40 grand, everybody would do that, right? There's nothing to that. If we don't figure out a way to add value, which is overcoming challenges and obstacles, and it reminds me of the Thomas Edison quote, and I'll paraphrase the best I can, but it's like, you know, I didn't fail. Uh, I just tried 10,000 ways it didn't work, and then I found the way to make the light bulb, right? And
Yep.
so
Mhm.
if each of us go, well, I tried this and it didn't work, so I'm a failure, or this idea is no good, and you walk away, you're missing the point. The journey was one step, and you've got to take more steps, and you've got to tweak and adjust and pivot and do whatever you got to do
Exactly.
until it works, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's just no way around it. You have to be persistent, and you have to work through problems. I think that's really good advice, and the recognition that, you know, it can be challenging, it can be difficult, and when problems come up, and lightning bolts always strike. There's you know, you may get some time period that you don't get a lightning
Mhm.
bolt, but they're coming, and you know, you won't like it. It's an
Mhm.
unwelcome surprise,
I mean, growth is a lightning bolt. I mean, your
right?
success is a lightning bolt. You think you're gonna be a millionaire or billionaire is gonna get easy? It's gonna be harder. You got more people to manage. You got, you got to protect your finances. You got to make sure you're growing. Nobody's stealing from you. You got to, it gets harder. You got family asking you for money. How you gonna deal with that? How you gonna keep them? Tell them no. You gonna tell them yes? Like it only more success brings on more responsibility. So accept it now and do it.
Yeah, I don't remember who the great philosopher was. Perhaps it was Shakespeare, but he said something to the effect of "Mo money, mo problems,"
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure that that is absolute truth. Having been on quite a path in my time over my 30 years in business, I've seen all kinds of, you know, kind of ups and downs, and all the the pluses and minuses that go along with each of those valleys and peaks.
I'm
As you
trying to be like you, Steve.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, believe me, it'll be great. You know, I could tell you some stories that would make your skin crawl. And then I would say, yeah, it's still worth it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So before we take a break, we're going to talk a little bit more after the break about kind of Will's future predictions, where he sees things going, not just with the fintech piece, but also Amazon, maybe at large, or e-commerce in general. But we're also going to talk, you know, about his company a little bit, and make sure that people understand how that thing works, and maybe I'll share some experience I've had with it. But before we do that, do you have a favorite tool or an app or process or something that you use day to day that you like cannot live without? Anything you care to share?
Um, that I cannot live without. I
Yeah,
would have to say probably. I think it might be best to recommend books because the knowledge that I've obtained I can't live without. The knowledge allow me to find everything else. But so books that I recommend, some books that I read,
sure.
guys. Number one, the Bible. I love Proverbs. Of course, the Lean Startup. A lot of people read that, but if you guys are Amazon sellers, the Lean Startup actually can fit into any category, whether it's Amazon. And the lean startup for launching products is awesome, right? You just read that book and just think Amazon, right? bow, you're done, right? Also like the richest man in Babylon, the 10x rule,
Okay.
the 4-hour work week. Keep that in context, guys.
Yeah.
The E-Myth revisited, the Blue Ocean Strategy, the Compound Effect, and Primal Branding. Those are some of my favorite books. As you obtain knowledge from friends and knowledge from books, things, you're able to put these things together. And so when you have experience, you have these things archived, and it's like, oh, I remember when I read that book and I pulled it in, and my friend told me this, and you can make good wise decisions. So yeah.
That's a really good list. In our show notes, everybody, as always, at the top and the bottom of the show, we'll announce the link that you can go to grab this episode. And we'll put all the contact info and the ways to find Will and his company. And we'll also try to get those books in there. A number of those books I've read. But I really do agree with Will's premise that, all you're doing is you're gathering a bunch of breadcrumbs, when you read these books and when you listen to podcasts or any other knowledge kind of, method of trying to gain knowledge. You're putting all these breadcrumbs together, and later you're going to figure out the pattern or the trail they take you to. And sometimes the books will make sense years later, and you're like, hang on, I remember this. And you may even dig that thing back out and kind of go through it again to freshen up. But so many times the lessons are not necessarily immediate, but they do, I think, in aggregate, generate knowledge or equity, as I like to say. So we're going to be right back after this, everybody, and we're going to, again, talk about Will's future predictions. And so you're not going to want to miss that. We will be right back.
Catalyst 88 was developed to help entrepreneurs achieve their short and long-term goals in e-commerce markets by utilizing the power of shared entrepreneurial wisdom. Entrepreneurship is nothing if not lessons to be learned. Learn from others. Learn from us. I guarantee that we will learn from you. Visit catalyst88.com because your success is our success. And giddy up.
Okay, back again, everybody. Steve Simonson here, talking about the Awesomers.com podcast topic of the day, and we've got our special guest, Will Moffett, with us. And we're talking about all kinds of things, Will's origin story and as well as his company. And I want to talk a little bit about kind of how Upfund.io works, Will, because I do think that it's a common problem, especially for entrepreneurs who are trying to grow quickly. Success can be an obstacle, right? Success can hamper you because cash flow is king. And, when you're trying to figure out, most of the startup entrepreneurs don't understand how to get terms from the Chinese companies. They don't understand how to negotiate, either lines of credit, inventory lines of credit or other things when the things arrive. So they're dealing really on a hand-to-mouth cash basis, which can be very, very problematic. So how have you guys, I know how you identified the problem because you lived it, but how have you gone about trying to solve it?
So what we found is that, with private label, the shipping and the lead time and shipping time is just a killer. It just sucks. You're throwing, especially if you have a successful product. You're ordering 10,000 units or something, a fast mover, you're talking about $100,000 order, right? You got to cough up 30% of that. And then it's like, then you got to wait 60 days or so. And then you better hope you still have inventory to keep that thing moving once it get in. Because if not, you're going to have to cough up some more money to get that product moving again. Or lower your prices to get, or whatever it is, you're going to be losing money if you run out of inventory. So with that, we created a system to where you won't have any payments during your lead time and shipping time. You can adjust these times if you're a wholesaler, a private labeler, or whatever strategy you have. You can kind of create a timeline to where you can kind of arrange your finances in a proper way to where you're only paying when that product sells. And that's pretty much the concept of it. Another concept that we have is we really like to talk and educate people on staying out the debt trap. And it's so easy to get in debt with Amazon. And a lot of people don't understand how you can easily get into debt, having a failed product, or if you're always running out of inventory and you're having to relaunch every 2 months, that could kill your business. Or if you're out of stock for say 2 months, you could have made 15 grand, right? Or 20 grand. It's a whole bunch of little things that people don't understand, like not calculating your profit margins. And, it's just so many ways you can lose money. And we like to educate people on how to properly structure your finances. And so we have a very aggressive payback schedule. We generally like people to pay back within 5.5 to 6 months if they're structuring their finances right. They should be able to, because what we found ends up happening is, and if you can control this yourself, then kudos, right? But a lot of people just don't. You take out a loan, 50 grand, 100 grand, or whatever, right? You're paying back the normal schedule payments as soon as you take it out. Your product is out to sea. It's in China, and it's coming to the US, right? Your money is not working for you. Then Prime Day comes. Okay, what you didn't pay that money back. You got to get more money because you got some money tied up, right? So now you actually just doubled your interest. All right. And then if you don't pay that back fast, Christmas is coming up, right? You just tripled your interest, and it's just like, it's just smart to kind of just keep it clean, right? If you can. And it's all about how you do business and how you structure your finances in your situation. Just have to figure it out. Everybody's different. Everybody has different strategies. But, we believe in and we learned this because one time we got in really bad debt. And we took Amazon lending, and they gave us just this large chunk of money.
Sure.
But the something ended up out. It was a long time ago. Something ended up happening with the product, or I think we started getting into tech, and we stopped worrying about Amazon. We're like, oh, we're gonna quit Amazon or whatever. And I wouldn't look at Amazon for maybe a week or two, which is horrible, guys. Don't ever not focus on your Amazon business, or competition will eat you alive. And so eventually, our products was just dying. They were dead. And we still had this Amazon loan, and we were actually paying out this loan and just paying off the loan, right? And wasn't even really selling. And so, we got to be careful of those things, So,
Yeah, it's a really good lesson that there are so many ways you can kind of compound your jeopardy, I suppose, right? It's like I'm okay about taking risks, and I think we should be smart about risk. But the reality is, the more that you kind of double down, triple down on the next loan, the next big event, you're always floating this bigger chunk of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that in some cases it's better to just grow a little slower,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of have a pace and a patience about the growth strategy. One of the things I like about how you guys have done it is you basically have some, I won't describe your technology, but as I understand it, a seller can go to you and say, hey, here's my Amazon account, and they give you some kind of credentials that allows you to verify their account. They say, I'm looking for this much money to launch a product or replenish a product or whatever. And you guys do some kind of work in the background to make sure that that's a reasonable deal for the marketplace. Am I describing it right? Maybe you can fill in some blanks there.
Exactly. Yeah. We understand that when somebody's overreaching, right? Like, or they just like they're compounding debt or whatever it is, or just like what they want is not reasonable for growth. So our system, based upon our experience, we built the algorithm that will understand what they actually need to grow. And if they don't fit our system, then they don't fit our system, right? But we know, like, we have a great track record for funding successful sellers, and the people who are not so successful, generally they don't make it with us, or like, it might be somebody that looked good, and then we may not have been able to fund them, and then you see later on their business is gone, right? So it's just it's pretty cool that my partners, they were able to build something special, that I don't think a lot of people. I wish I could, maybe I should educate people more on the importance of like what we do and how we do it. Like the people who use us frequently, they understand, but some people, they email us, and it's like, well, I don't get this, and so yeah, guys, it's simple. We're all about not racking up a bunch of debt, and growing, being successful, and just making sure we stay in business.
Yeah,
When
I
I'm
think that's
saying
smart.
we, I mean both you as a seller and us as a company.
Of course, long term, it doesn't help you to see sellers go out of business. You want them to
Exactly.
kind of come back and back. And so, I always like to draw the delineation between simple and easy, right? It is simple. The concept and the premise and the way you guys execute it is extraordinarily simple, and I think very well done. So kudos to you and the team.
Oh, thank you.
I've been in as an investor to their side and threw some money in a series of projects, and then I watched how all those came back over time. And I think you guys have a very high ratio of loans, loan to payback. Do you share any of those types of stats, or how's that
Yeah,
work?
yeah. So it's not considered a loan. It's really considered
Whatever it is.
it's a consignment deal, with investors. So we have a crowd of investors, and they all invest in Amazon sellers. Nobody knows your product. Nobody, there's no information about you to the public. It's all, the investors trust Upfund that we're picking the right Amazon sellers to fund. I'm sorry, Steve. In your
No.
question, I kind of
Well, no,
ventured off.
you're on the right track. So that we were leading towards the idea that, so it's not a loan, it's a consignment deal.
Yeah.
And that you guys have put this technology in place that helps qualify, but it really is, to me, it's like, what's the rate of payback? I mean, how big is the fail rate? Because I could tell you
Yeah.
some bank stories that make you, go nuts.
Yeah.
How do you guys do that?
Actually, right now, 0.66.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
and
extraordinary.
well, I mean, we have to stay on top. Like, and that's the thing. Like, we're still in startup mode, right? We see when something's coming, and we put out the fire. Like, I'm the solution guy. Remember, guys? Like, fires every day. But because of that, we're able to keep the company nice and steady, and at a growth. And yeah, so in our underwriting process, we're able to see who are the clear winners, and who may not fit our model.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah, so yeah,
And I
right.
think that makes perfect sense. We'll probably have Will on again in the future, and we'll do an awesome authority piece where we kind of dive into some of the details. But I just want to, from my perspective, just share that if you're a seller and you feel that you're constrained by cash, then it behooves you. It doesn't hurt you to go check it out and see if you qualify, see if it makes sense to you. Because the premise is, the whatever amount of money that is raised for this consignment inventory is paid back as the product sells. So it's, there's a cash flow centric and cash flow friendly methodology to the payback, which makes investors say, okay, well, given the high rate of payback and the reasonable interest rates, maybe I should take the risk. And maybe my understanding is correct, maybe it's not, but I think you have more investors than you have deal flow. Is that fair to say?
Well, it goes up and down, back and forth, but we have a lot of investors. Yes, we have a lot of investors, and it just goes back and forth. One minute we have to find more investors, one minute we have to find more sellers, but we're generally always investor heavy.
Gotcha.
It's just a lot of people in the world with money. It's interesting. Before I started this company, I didn't understand so many people had money. I mean, guys, so this is you know I think that it's just important for all of us to understand is that we always look at maybe our life and our situation. There's a big world out there with a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of opportunity, and we just got to grab a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, that's very well said. Yeah, often I would tell people, stop buying things with your own wallet, right? And I learned a lesson very early on about trying to buy things with my own wallet. I had a customer, I had a carpet store. After the janitorial company, it evolved into a flooring company and a carpet store. And I had a guy, he came in, he says, "Hey, I'm looking for carpet for my whole house. And I had just gone through this showroom. I just bought it from a guy. And I'm like, these prices are way too high. This is, I'm embarrassed to even see these prices, but I didn't have time to change them. And so I'm showing the guy the carpet, and he's like, I kind of like this. And in my mind, I'm feeling guilty. I'm like, oh, nobody can afford this because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And so he ends up, he's like, yeah, I love this. I want this for my whole house. And it was like a $10,000 carpet job, which was like probably more than I made in a year at that time, right? Because I was just hustling. Already the lesson was being learned, like, oh, maybe people can't afford this. And then he goes, oh, by the way, I've got my rental house next door. Let's do that whole house too. He doubled it to 20 grand. Right. So my mind is completely blown, and never again will I buy anything with my own wallet. No matter how big that wallet is or how small it is, somebody else has a bigger wallet than me.
Yeah.
So very good way to. So, all right. So I love, all of this time you've been able to spend with me today, Will. I really appreciate it. Before we go, I'd love to hear any predictions you have about whether it's Amazon or the fintech space or just e-commerce in general. Anything you wish to share with awesomers out there?
What? Oh my goodness, I can go on and on. So I guess I'll just start with Upfund. With Upfund, we have heard you guys out there. We understand and we know that a lot of international sellers have issues with finding money, and we've been trying to crack this code for a while. We do have some ideas. It's gonna that can securely fund the whole entire. The e-commerce industry is a $2 trillion industry, right? That's far bigger than just the U.S. alone. Due to regulations and laws and things, a lot of people in just risk, a lot of people aren't able to go international and cross borders, but there's some pretty savvy ways out there that it can happen. So we're working on some cool ways to facilitate the world. That's what Upfund is that's what's been on Upfund's mind. As far as e-commerce, look, Amazon, that's not going anywhere. It's Amazon is here to stay. There's always going to be opportunity. Whether you have a Shopify website, whether you sell on Amazon, whether you sell on eBay, wherever you sell, there's always opportunity. Adapt, grow, and make it work. There's always going to be adversity. There's always going to be challenges. It's always going to get tighter and tighter every year, but that's what making money is all about, finding solutions, right? So I think that I have nothing, specifically to say about e-commerce, but there's opportunity for everyone. You got to figure it out. Talk to guys like Steve.
Well, again, sage wisdom delivered by Will right there. Talk to Steve. That's the perfect solution to every problem. I will say this for those awesomers out there listening. As always, the Empowering E-commerce Cooperative is something that, that's where I put a lot of energy into as a nonprofit member-owned cooperative. Anything that I ever do where people are like, hey, have an affiliate this or have an affiliate that, I don't do any of that stuff personally. Anything and everything goes to this nonprofit member-owned cooperative. And there are solutions in the making for inventory financing once you have the product inside the building, inside a third-party warehouse or your own warehouse potentially. There are solutions being developed to help people source products with terms as long as the orders are sufficient sizes. Writing terms for a $2,000 starter order is not super efficient because the paperwork involved in these types of things. But as they get bigger, so we really want to see multiple bites at the apple, right? Helping people establish terms and understanding how things work in China better, and then helping them, get bridge funding in whatever format, the crowdfunding, for example, that I love from Upfund, and then even tail financing that, could be for your ongoing inventory that you're holding stock on. In many cases in my past, we've been able to turn that into a bankable asset. And the key is, and Will talked about this earlier, the traditional banks are worthless when it comes to helping entrepreneurs of this size and of this nature. Right? They just are not going to help you. The time, their understanding, every part of that is just, equals ignorance. There's just no way they're going to get there. Certainly not in a compelling, systemic, large, sustainable way. But I think other people who are using technology to help solve this, and that includes guys like Will and others like him that are able to say, you know what, if we put these, barriers in place to try to make, keep out the riffraff, and we, try to push towards success and educate people, we're going to have more successful and positive outcomes. And that's what we all want. We all just want positive outcomes.
That's right.
I love it. All right. Well, listen, Will, any final words of wisdom for our gang?
Yeah, guys, just go out there and get it. Like Steve was saying earlier, ultimately, look, 100 years from now, we won't be here, or 130 years from now, we won't be here. So while we're here, make the best of it. Let's do something big, do something great. Get out your comfort zone. Look, this world has so many cool things going on. So many people are doing cool things, right? And you're capable. And if you don't believe you can do it, find somebody who can and see if you can help them, right? Just think about what you want and go for it, right? You might fail. Most people do. But keep going. I promise you, if you never quit, at some point you're going to succeed, right? Yeah. So it's a numbers game. It's a time game. It's an experience game. It's all about finding solutions and just believe. I mean, the only time things is going to be easy is, I like that. My friend said this. It's pretty funny. The only time things are going to get easy is if you just quit, file bankruptcy, and just go do nothing. Go sit on the corner, become a bum or something, right? But that's the only time it's going to get easy for you, right? But I believe that everybody, there's something for everybody, so we just have to figure it out.
Definitely agree with you, Will. I also believe in the world of abundance. There's something out there for everybody. You just have to make your path. And like Will said earlier, just act, just go, just do something. And that numbers game will eventually catch up to you in the right way, and you'll find your hook. Awesomers out there listening, we will be right back after this.
Empower. The name says it all. Connecting e-commerce entrepreneurs with great people, ideas, systems, and the services needed to stay business dynamic and to grow. Empowery is a network, a cooperative venture of tools and resources to make you better at what you do, because we love what you do. We are you. Visit empowery.com to learn more.
This is another great example after, speaking with Will and learning more about his origin story, to really reflect on the idea that, Awesomers' origin stories are just so different, right? Everybody's got their own background, their own place they came from, their own challenges. But really, any of us that just take a moment and, listen, we can identify and go, oh man, that's pretty tough stuff. I had something similar, or, my thing was a lot easier. However you decide to internalize and listen to these origin stories, my hope is that you will reflect that, gosh, so often challenges are going to come up and Awesomers just don't stop. They're persistent. They just keep going. And Will's a great example of that because, he's always on the front edge of trying to figure out what's next and using his financial tech company to try to build a way to help sellers overcome a standard problem. What another great example of that Amazon ecosystem dropping out yet another business model, another type of business. They were able to apply a very unique concept, which is kind of financial crowdfunding, with a very common problem, which is getting enough stock to buy your product on Amazon. And by putting controls and systems in place, they're really able to put something unique together. So to find all the show notes, all the relevant links, things like that, go to awesomers.com/31. And the reason why? This was Awesomers episode number 31. Awesomers.com/31 to find all the show notes. It's right there for you. Well, we've done it again, everybody. We have another episode of the Awesomers podcast ready for the world. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed our program today. Now's a good time to take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. Heck, you can even leave a review if you wanted. Awesomers around you will appreciate your help. It's only with your participation and sharing that we'll be able to achieve our goals. Our success is literally in your hands. Thank you again for joining us. We are at your service. Find out more about me, Steve Simonson, our guests, team, and all the other awesomers involved at awesomers.com. Thank you again.
Awesomers.com